to become a Mike or anything like that, obviously. But we're all comic book fans. We all watch the movies. We all watch TV shows. We're all that stuff. Superheroes are things that we're all fans
Big
of.
deal.
Um, so one of the topics I wanted to talk about was the DC movies. Specifically, I know that Sandy, our guest and now partner here, he's a
Let's
big.
wait. Time out. Let's put it this way. Sandy fucking hates Marvel. It is a DC shill.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I like Marvel, but if you
He's
told
a
me pick
DC shill.
Yeah,
that,
DC show.
listen, I love DC, I love Marvel, but I think there's more at stake in DC than there is in
I have
Marvel.
never heard
when you
somebody talk so much about DC in my life since I met Sandy.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna ask you a question. Outside of Avengers Endgame, right? Name me one casualty that have actually followed through the entire franchise.
Killmonger,
I'll answer that question.
Kill
Well,
Killmonger.
we don't know that yet.
That's true.
There's
Well, as
there's
far as we know, up till this point, Killmonger is dead.
okay.
That's true. That's
It
true.
took
Ronan.
20 it took 22 movies for someone to actually die, and it was a bad guy. Civil War, no one died. Ant-Man made that movie terrible for me
Oh, you
because
gotta
no
get
one.
off this Ant
Stop,
Man
yeah,
hate
stop
train.
with the Ant-Man. Paul
Enough.
Rudd.
Right.
Okay, first off, Paul
It's a
Rudd is
good
a
movie.
fucking amazing actor. Paul Rudd
He
is
is.
so funny and he's so good in those movies. You
I will
can't
Ant-Man was
say
take that
the
from
first
him.
Ant-Man was a good movie, and
I
Ti was hilarious in the
I,
movie.
I will
Yes.
no. Who's the guy? The Hispanic guy.
Oh, you didn't like that guy, did you?
No, I loved him. He was to me the best part of that entire movie on Ant-Man 1 and 2.
Ant-Man
Ant-Man,
2, he
I
really
love
does
Paul Rudd.
shine.
Yeah, I love
It's
Paul Rudd,
so funny.
but you can't be the second best part of your movie. That guy when he's like, "Yeah, I heard from a friend, from another friend, that this guy knows this guy who knows the other guy." Like I could not stop
Okay,
laughing
yeah.
that entire scene.
Yes, that is
Paul
It's a
Rudd was
funny.
good,
funny
but not that
movie.
great.
That is a very funny movie, but I gotta say though, Paul Rudd is he is such an amazing actor, and the way that he's able to like mix the comedy and the actual like get the storyline too, because like Ant-Man ends up being super important to the whole franchise. So like I don't see
He
how you can
does.
discredit Ant-Man or say that it's like a bad movie. It's so
I,
important.
It's a good. It's
I
it's not a
well,
great movie. It's a good movie. It's not like a bad movie.
It's
I
no,
expected
no.
it. I
but
expected it to be a bad movie, and
It's
it was.
funny.
but the
That's
It
the
thing is,
was a
point.
funny, and it was entertaining.
It's
you can
entertaining.
acknowledge that it wasn't good, but still important. I'm not saying Ant-Man isn't important to the Marvel universe. I'm just saying that for me, for example, Captain America Civil War, right?
Hmm?
In the comic books, a bunch of superhero die. This isn't spoiler because it's in the comics, not in the movies.
Hmm.
But one of those notable deaths in the comics is Spider-Man. Obviously, you're not gonna kill Spider-Man in the movies
Spider-Man
because you
died in
just
Civil War.
in the comic books, yeah.
I thought, did he? I don't
I'm
think. I
pretty
don't know
sure
if he did.
But Spider-Man's
pretty
tricky
sure
because of the multiverse. That they're like,
I know
who
Captain America
knows?
died.
no,
Captain America died in Civil War.
I'm pretty sure Spider-Man was the casualty that ended Civil War.
I think it was
I
Captain America.
we could actually look it up, I'm sure. Let me
Yeah,
see.
I
Well,
think it was Captain America who died, who ended Civil War.
regardless, because of the concept of the multiverse and stuff like that, I think that like who knows, the writers and everybody, at Marvel is probably just trying to continue world building, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I think Marvel does so well is the overall world building that has been throughout the 22 movies, and even continuing in like their WandaVision show and stuff like that. I
No
think that they're
spoilers.
Oh yeah, no spoilers, but I think that in general world building is super important to them and they do a good job of it.
Here's what I'll
The-
say. Here's what I'll say. Just a hot take of my own. The first two Avengers movies, not good. Well, not. I want to say not good. Okay. The first two Avengers movies are okay. Um, and I know we started off this conversation talking about Marvel and DC, and I'll just say this: DC tried to do what Marvel did, but did it a lot worse.
You see, as a DC fanboy, I agree with you there. I
Mm.
think what they should have done is one of two things, right? They should have either followed the Marvel formula and introduced each character individually, or
In a
to
way, they
go
did, but
backwards. Yeah, or go backwards, right? You start off with Justice League, you make a good Justice League movie, and then do your solo spin-offs. I think DC gets on pace, not at the same level, but at least gets closer to Marvel than what they did starting off. I
I
would
don't think.
argue,
The
Go
the
ahead. I'm
hard
sorry.
part with DC is that it has arguably the most overpowered hero ever in
And
Superman.
I don't think
but
that
most
that is the
compelling.
reason. That is he's not.
He's not the
Stop
most
saying
compelling.
that.
Guys,
He's
I
not
don't.
the
Okay,
most
wait.
compelling.
Before we get there, I don't think that that was the issue with the DC movies. I don't
I
think that
agree.
they needed to do a movie for each person. I think if they would have just made one movie, not even a universe movie, and it was really good, then people would have wanted to see the individual movies. I think the problem was the movies that they put out weren't that good,
I
and
think,
they were too serious, they were too dark, and the stories were kind of convoluted.
but the thing
No,
is,
I don't think
I
the Dark's that bad though. But
I
okay,
don't.
I
I
think
personally like, for example, I'm sorry not to interrupt you. The Batman Superman stuff with all the religious symbolism of Superman, I like
but
that.
yeah,
But it's not gonna. I'm not. You got to make a movie that's more. You know what I mean? Like
you can't make
Iron Man.
22 movies of that. You
Exactly.
can't.
Iron Man was the first movie of the MCU, and it was an inviting movie. Anyone could watch
Oh
that
yeah,
and say, "I see myself in that guy."
that's
Or
fair.
it's light. It's lighthearted. Iron Man's a funny guy. Robert Downey Jr. played obviously a great Tony Stark. He's
Yes,
always going to be Tony Stark in my book now.
it's
Um,
very
as
fair.
he should be. Yeah,
and then it was Thor and Captain America, and they all have their own different elements. But when they came together, they're the Avengers. But when it comes to Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman was a great movie. Superman and then Superman versus Batman, they were not that good.
you see, I disagree about Man of Steel. Batman versus Superman. My understanding is the Snyder Cut is the best version of it. But I would argue with anyone, Man of Steel is just as good as most Marvel movies. Because you got to think the
Man of
problem with
Steel's
Man of
not
Steel.
bad. I'm not gonna argue you
It's
there. It's not bad. I just think that in general, it's like
Man
it's
of
like
Steel, Black Panther.
Well,
Black
but
Panther, like
that's
easy.
yeah, without a
Like
doubt. But the thing is,
easy.
you're comparing a movie where a movie studio had 20 plus years of practice, or 10 years, but 20 films of practice to get this right. They
DC's been
also
making
got,
movies a long time. I know they haven't had a universe, but they've been making movies a long, long
yeah,
time.
It's
but if
true.
you look
How
at
many
their
Batman
track,
movies has there been?
if you look at their track record prior to the universe, you got The Dark Knight, which I will argue is the greatest comic book movie, one of the greatest films of all time done. Then you have Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, the Batman movies beforehand, the Superman movies, other
Wait,
than the
Dark Knight
original.
is the Heath Ledger one. Sorry, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I will agree with you there. I really do love that movie. I think that movie is it's good. It's really good, but that's because I value other things too, like I'm real big on music. So like the score in Dark Knight is
Fantastic.
god tier. Hans Zimmer is god tier. You cannot like debate the general music there. But like
Here's a hot take.
no.
Here's a hot take.
My Seaside is about to say something stupid, guys. That's what he means.
That movie didn't age well for me, and it was my favorite movie when I saw it. It was my favorite movie for a long time. But I've tried and tried to try it again to rewatch it, and that Batman voice takes me all the way out of
Okay,
it.
so full disclosure, I've watched that movie 5 times total. Ever.
I've watched it a lot of times too. It's just
I've
only
watched it
recently I tried to watch it, and I
5
can't.
times total. The
I
very
can't.
last time I watched it, I think I understood what you meant. Like
I
what
just
you
it just
mean when you
it just
say it doesn't age well.
it
But
takes me out of it.
but like I got to say just like Heath Ledger's acting in that super,
Flawless.
super amazing. Like no one can dispute
And not
that
to
at
interrupt
all.
you again, uh, Joaquin Phoenix better Joker.
Mm, no, I can't accept that.
Joaquin Phoenix better Joker. He
No,
didn't miss. He was in every single scene of the Joker movie.
all
There
right,
was not a scene where Joaquin was not in picture, and
okay,
I felt something after I watched Joaquin Phoenix,
I
the
can agree
Joker.
with. I can.
I didn't feel anything other than that was pretty cool when I watched
No,
Batman.
so
Mocha.
the problem with that though, the problem with that statement is that I think that Joaquin Phoenix he's not a sympathetic villain. He's not. I think that
Joaquin Phoenix is a You mean Heath Ledger?
like the Joker's character in general is not a sympathetic villain. I don't
I
think.
think he is.
I think he is too.
Yeah.
How
So
he he's fucking
watch.
deranged. Like oh
I'll
god.
address
Oh.
I'll address your question, and then I have to disagree with Mike on another point. Right? Reason he's sympathetic is because he doesn't understand who he is as a person. Right? In the comics, there's a very famous quote. Someone asked him, "Who are you?" or whatever the case might be, and he says, "I like to believe my history is a multiple choice answer." That's what this movie was. At the end of the movie, you don't know if he was adopted, what's going on with his mom. You don't know what is he crazy? Is he not crazy? Did he kill the
You
lady
don't
at the
even know
end?
if he imagined the whole movie. He could have imagined the whole movie.
But
And,
like
and that's
that's the thing though, is like the Joker I don't think is intended to be a sympathetic villain. Some villains are intended to be sympathetic villains and they do it well. Like if you look at Thanos, right? You know that his whole train of thought is I'm doing something good for the world, and he doesn't like collapse until he changes his perspective, until he changes like his objective as to why he's doing it, when he loses sight of like I don't think I'm the bad guy here. That creates like a pretty decent sympathetic villain. I'm not saying Thanos is the best cuz I fucking hate Thanos like in general, but
I like
I'm
Thanos.
I'm just saying
but you
neither
see,
here nor there. But I don't
but,
think
but,
that that's the Joker's MO. I think it's
but
supposed to be illogical. It's supposed to be something that makes
I
you
agree.
think the worst of somebody.
I
You're
agree, but
supposed to
also
feel that.
there's something that happens to someone to get them to that point. And if you really
exactly.
think about that, then
But
that's going to be sympathetic because
but
what could happen to a person to make them that fucking crazy? You know what I mean?
but that's the
Yeah.
thing. Is like even like the concept that you don't know what makes them get that crazy doesn't
But
make me
we
feel
still don't
bad
know.
for him. I don't feel
But
bad for
but
him. I
we
know
saw
that
what
he's
happened.
fucked up.
We saw
But
what
we
he
saw what happened.
perceived to have happened.
Yeah,
We don't
Yeah.
know that that's happened.
Yeah, and we saw in the beginning of the movie, without spoiling it, he had when he was the clown flipping the thing.
Well, it's been out for a while now, so we don't care about
All right.
spoilers.
And honestly,
for it.
that
Do
Joker
that
movie
one.
is my favorite movie of all time. I'm not gonna lie.
It's up there for me too, but you got to think the movie opens up with him holding a sign, playing with it, and a bunch of kids beating the crap out of him in an alleyway. 2 minutes later, he's on a train, and what happens to him? Like, I agree with Mike here in the sense that he's sympathetic because of everything that happened to him to the point where at the end of the movie, he's like, I think the tragedy of this world is a comedy. And it's because his entire life has been a tragedy. And if he doesn't see his life in a
Perceived
different
life.
way, yeah, if he doesn't see life that way, he's probably going to kill himself. And I think that's the point of the movie. As to the Heath Ledger comment that Mike said that's blasphemous, you can't compare the two. Here's why. You ready? Heath Ledger was the Joker in a Batman movie, right?
That's true.
We realistically speaking only see Joaquin Phoenix be the Joker for the
Yeah,
last 5 or 10 minutes of the movie. I think what Joaquin Phoenix did better than Heath Ledger was we understood the psyche of the Joker better with Joaquin Phoenix than Heath Ledger. But Heath Ledger, in those moments where he was in the hospital with
He didn't have the
Two-Face,
chance.
what's that?
It wasn't a Joker movie. It's a Batman movie, so he doesn't have the
Exactly.
chance to explore the character to that point.
Exactly. But even when he's in the hospital with Toothface and he's like, I just want to see, like, I just give people the option to
Mm.
do what they want, and usually you see the dark side of them. That's who the Joker is, but unfortunately, Joaquin Phoenix didn't get to play that bad guy at the end.
I
Joaquin
Well,
Phoenix
I
is
do think it would be
he shot
cool
the
for him to
actor.
get that opportunity
Yeah,
though. I
and
I
I
think that that
do.
would be
Yeah,
cool.
I agree. But I don't know that that movie deserve or not deserves, but should get a sequel because I think it's perfect the way it is.
I
No,
agree.
no, no, no.
I
I'm not
think you're
saying
right.
get a sequel. I'm saying like do maybe even another Batman movie, but have Joaquin Phoenix be the Joker,
Hmm.
and expand on the character and give him a chance to play the Joker that gets like explored in the Dark Knight.
Hmm.
I
I think that that would be
I I I,
phenomenal.
I would disagree for one reason. Joaquin Phoenix is getting too old for a Robert Pattinson Batman.
Well,
You got
it
to
doesn't
think,
have to be Robert Pattinson. It could be a
but
whole.
then,
Correct. It
They.
could be a whole
but
new.
It could be a
but the
whole
problem you
new
the
Batman.
the problem you run into right now with it is that Robert Pattinson is going to make 3 Batman movies, right? You need to get Joaquin Phoenix sooner rather than later because he's already up there in age. I believe he's pushing almost 50 at this point. If
Should be
you
fine.
start another Batman movie,
I mean, actors do it all the time, like where they get prepped for
How old is
specific
Samuel
roles.
L. Jackson? He's
Yeah, I
old.
mean, dude's
he's in
old
his
as
And he's,
shit,
and
and he's
70s,
he's
bro.
still
yeah, and he's
doing
still Sergeant,
Marvel
or he's
movies.
still directing
But
Fury.
but the thing is, Batman and Joker have always been relatively the same age.
Well, they're not
Now,
going to
if
be because Joaquin was, Bruce Wayne was a young boy when Joaquin was already an adult in this
and
movie.
that's why people are speculating as to whether or not this actually happened, right? That's one of the reasons why.
That's fair.
Usually in the comics, Batman and Joker are relatively close to the same age. Now, when you throw a little Bruce Wayne in there, the question is, well, is this really the Joker then? Because he's never been this much older than Bruce Wayne. But I think if you have another Batman movie with the Robert Pattinson Batman, I think, to be honest, I think it would bomb because
Well,
people wouldn't know
so
who
let's take a
Pattinson's
step
I
Batman.
think
back.
it's 100% fine as a standalone movie.
Let's
Honestly,
let's take a
Fair.
step back and like go back to the concept of like DC movies in general, right?
Mhm.
We are very much just cherry picking. There are only a couple really good DC movies out there, I think. And I feel like that's more on DC than anything. Like I feel like, you should be able to
you have, yeah, you have great characters.
you have great characters. You
And
and
that's
like
let me,
what's hard.
but
That's
and let
what's
me,
heartbreaking for me.
yeah, and
but
let me
this has
just,
also been something that I think me and Mike have touched on like several times throughout our various episodes is that DC I think in general, and I think that we can all probably come together on this one, has a lot of really good solo characters.
Yes.
Whereas Marvel is all about side stories, lore, background on like many characters. I mean, hell, you get into X-Men and you're like every single one has like a great ass origin story.
can I just
Everything's so developed.
very quickly,
Yeah, go for it.
just so I just want this idea to come across. Me personally, I think DC Comics are better. I think the MCU is better though.
I think
I think
that's accurate.
DC Comics, the comics of DC are better than Marvel's comics to me. But I think obviously Marvel's movies are better.
And
I
I
think
genuinely think it revolves around that. It's like DC has very strong characters. And like the prominent characters are the prominent ones all the way. Ride or die with those characters,
I
right?
mean,
In the
how many people
comics,
knew anything about Thor or Iron Man before these movies?
barely anything. People
I know I
fucking
didn't.
people didn't even know dog shit
I,
about the X-Men before
I,
any of
I
the
would
X-Men
disagree.
movies.
I would disagree with Iron Man. I would agree with Thor though. I think Iron Man was already relatively popular
I didn't
when
know a
the first one.
Iron
single
Man
thing.
comics you think were really popular? I think if anything like the
I'm not gonna
X-Men
say.
comics were real popular and like
Yeah, I'm not gonna say super
Marvel was gonna
popular.
go out of business until Disney bought them.
yeah.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, like, at that point in time, you got to think comic books in general were just failing. It just so happened that Marvel felt it worse
Well,
than anyone
it's
else.
more the storylines that get built, right? So like like X-Men comics were super super popular, but like Guardians of the Galaxy comics, what
No
the
one
fuck?
had
No,
any
No
idea.
one
what
knew
was going
anything about
I
that
agree.
shit.
I agree with you guys, but I think that's the genius of Kevin Feige, right?
on.
He's God
They
tier.
he-
He
they
is
he-
got
God
someone in
tier.
because
charge
what
who
did he
knows
do?
what they're
He
doing.
started what he doesn't get credit for, which it's one of my favorite movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Hulk, the Incredible
didn't
Hulk
watch
that came out after Iron Man.
I 100% didn't watch that movie.
You're
I didn't
crazy.
watch.
You should go back and watch it with Ed
I can't.
Norton.
It's
because
not
I can't watch.
terrible. It's
I don't
not
care about the
terrible.
Hulk. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I-
I can't care about the Hulk.
I
I can't.
like Bruce, or I like
David Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo as
Mark
Bruce
Ruffalo.
Banner.
Sorry.
Yes, I do like him as Bruce Banner. I am very 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 like no tucks. I am super excited for She-Hulk and him being in She-Hulk. I like the Disney Plus series. I think that that's going to be so big.
I'm
I-
I think
excited about.
WandaVision is overrated.
Well,
please,
WandaVision's really
guys.
early, so you got to take it easy on that. But
Please,
It-
guys. No
it's
spoilers.
overrated so
Please,
far.
guys.
I
I'm
won't
excited
give.
about Captain America or Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That
so,
looks
so
crazy
Falcon,
good.
Winter Soldier, Loki. You know, all the trailers are building up for Loki like multiverse. I'm okay on the Loki, but I think that again it comes back to Marvel is so good at world building. And I genuinely think that like WandaVision is way too early to call over or underrated. We need to at least get season 1 out and done before we like with new episodes coming weekly. It's really hard to speculate on like is it good or not. I generally like where it's going. I like the direction that it's heading.
I
You
have
think
the
there'll be a
idea
second
that it's
season?
based off House of
Oh
M.
yeah.
You
What
see, I don't
was
think
that?
My guess is it's based off of maybe. In fact, maybe it's based off the House of M storyline in Marvel Comics, kind of like a spin-off of that. And I don't know
loosely,
if you
yeah,
guys are familiar with House of M.
yeah.
It's
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 loosely based on
loosely.
it.
It's loosely.
Okay,
But
that's what I'm thinking.
yeah,
I,
I
I
mean,
don't think there'll be a second season on that.
I do. I think
Where do you go? Where do you go from there?
you're
Well,
at
obviously we
episode
can't
you're at
spoil it.
episode 4 though. Like where do you go from there? I think it still has a lot of room to grow is what I'm
How
saying.
many episodes are in the season?
Well, so
Usually
far like
8, I think.
on tomorrow it's going to be the 5th episode. But I think that the
How
whole
many total?
point I think it was slated for either 8 to 10 or something
Yeah.
like that.
I
I think
think
is
it's
the
8.
general series, but I want to say the whole reason for doing the like different spin-off TV shows is so that they can build the universe in different ways that like
Bridge the gaps.
yeah can kind of bridge the gaps, because what they have announced is that the TV series that they come out with on Disney Plus are going to feed into the MCU, and so everything is relevant and a part of canon.
Be-
So
yeah,
you-
because technically the Netflix series also were part of that, but
Yes,
now
yes.
but they didn't really affect that world at all.
Which
they
is
didn't, but
devastating.
they are starting to affect these
You know what? You're right. You're right.
shows, and I
because-
think that it's going to keep expanding without any spoilers. But
Because Daredevil is apparently
Daredevil
Um,
is apparently in the next Spider-Man. I think that what's the actor's name?
Charlie Cox.
Yeah, I believe he has already finished shooting his scenes for the next Spider-Man.
I thought he said he
So-
wasn't on it.
Well, there was leaks that he was actually on set and finished filming. So
And what do you guys? And I know maybe I'm changing topics. How do you guys feel about the Spider-Verse rumors?
I think it would be
hope-
dope.
I hope so bad.
I hope so, too.
I think it
hope
would be
so
dope.
bad.
The
I
only
hope
thing I'll say is this. I will love to see Marvel's take on my favorite anti-hero from Marvel, Venom. I think putting Venom in that movie would be fucking nuts, especially if you get Andrew Garfield for his Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire for his. Oh my god.
I
I'd pay
genuinely
crazy
would
money.
be super excited to see Venom in the MCU, because you're right. He is my favorite anti-hero. so good, so
Yeah,
compelling.
I love
But I'm
how
a
one
Spider-Man
thing.
fan guy, so like I can't really. I know it's super
I don't know
biased,
who my
super biased
favorite
over here.
anti-hero is.
It's usually for most people it's usually Daredevil, but there's just something fantastic about the Venom suit, the symbiote
Yeah, I
that
like
Because the thing with
Red Hood.
Venom is that it's like it destroys every part. You don't
Have
have
you
any
guys been
control.
Have you
yeah,
guys been keeping up with the Symbiote God and the comic books, like the current comic books, with
very loosely.
Noel, the Symbiote God, and how all the symbiotes are kind of created?
Other than loose
Very loosely.
research,
I know Null or whatever his name is. I've heard of him and what he can do,
I haven't.
but outside of that, nothing.
Yeah, I have. I've been lacking a little bit, but I apparently the stories have been really good.
Usually, most Spider-Man stories are amazing. To be honest with you,
and
I
And
think the
really,
Spider-Man.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, no, no. Go ahead. 'Cause
No, I think the Spider-Man movies are good. I don't think they're great. I don't think they've reached their
I
highest
agree.
potential yet.
well, I
I
I
agree.
think that they are still developing Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and I think that in general, uh, I don't think that you can have Tom Holland reach his peak as Spider-Man until you have stuff like Endgame happen, like that kind of sets the stage for him going forward. Like, um, Far From Home was, I think, a really good movie, and
I agree.
I think it's set
All the
up
Spider-Man movies have
nicely.
been good.
Yeah, all the
Yeah,
Spider-Man
All his movies
movies.
have been
but do you
Yeah.
think there's gonna be that many more Spider-Man movies to give him that chance?
good.
Considering
Oh,
Iron
I
Man probably
think
went
Spider-Man
3.
is the next
The
big
I
deal.
think the only thing holding them back is the Sony Marvel relationship. That's the only thing holding them
I,
back.
I
Well,
don't think
Um,
there's any problem there.
I think now that because Black Panther, we're very uncertain with how Black Panther is going to pan out and
what did you
how
hear about how they're going to be doing it? They're not going to replace him. Apparently, they're just going to do a Black Panther 2 movie, but it's going to be
exactly,
about
yeah,
everyone in Wakanda.
correct.
Well,
So I think because of you know Chadwick Boseman passing away and whatnot, I think that Black Panther was supposed to be a lot more important and a lot like a really big driving force of the next several years. It was right. It was the new top three. It was supposed to be Captain Marvel, Spider Man, Black Panther. That was supposed to be the
Marvel
new big
sucks.
three.
haven't seen Captain Marvel yet.
Suck. Don't.
Well, okay, we have disagreed
It's
on
not.
that before.
It's not the worst
You
movie in
you
the
got to
world.
lean forward. We It's a little hard to
You're right.
hear.
I'm sorry. It's not the worst movie in the world, but it's
Because
not
it's
very good.
Ant-Man. I agree with you. Ant-Man sucks, bro.
No,
Come
no.
on.
The big issue with Captain Marvel is it's
It
they're
feels undeserved
there no
to me.
not
It
not
feels undeserved
necessarily that
because
there
it's
was
like
a lot of
what
storylines that they could have gone with that they didn't.
to me it felt like, oh, you're just showing up and now you're just automatically as strong as Thor or as strong as like anyone else. It's just like, it took Thor and all of them a while to develop their power scaling and all that stuff, and it just felt like Captain Marvel. And I am not the guy that's all like, I'm obviously here, not a political podcast, but I'm obviously left leaning. Um, but it definitely felt like a little bit of fan service to feminism when they brought Captain Marvel on and had some of it was it, and I'm not against that. I'm just like
No,
fit it into the story better.
well, okay, so that's kind of the point that I was trying to make. Is there was a lot of storylines that they could have gone with. They went with, you know, something that did in general make Captain Marvel very overpowered from the start.
Mhm.
But if you know anything about Captain Marvel comics, like super
That's what she's
overpowered
always been.
character. It just she is an overpowered character, like in general. So I wasn't necessarily like too angry about that going in. What I'm very curious to see is how they do Captain Marvel 2 and how like they bring Captain Marvel into the rest of the Avenger movies going forward without like making the storylines a little too far fetched because you have such an overpowered superhero. But
That's the problem with Superman too.
yeah, it's gonna be hard. I think is like they have to bring out some of arguably the best comic villains in order
And
for Captain Marvel to even make sense to be fighting them at this point.
Well, I think rumor has it
Like
that
Galactus has to
that
be coming.
well,
that's
Fantastic
what I
Four is
was gonna
coming.
say.
Yes, exactly.
Apparently,
So
the rumor is that Galactus is going to be the next villain.
Yeah, so
Now, whether or
like
not it happens is a different story. But
so
I think
the
Galactus
Galactus
is
part
is
the
perfect
only
right now.
person that makes sense to go next.
yeah, it
Yeah.
only makes sense because of how goddamn overpowered Captain Marvel was in movie 1. Like I think
Here's
that like
my
you
issue with
have to
Marvel Comics
well you
as well.
have to
Go ahead.
kind of go with like what you're building though, right? Like that's kind of the thing. But I mean, we've talked before on this podcast. We hope to see Namor. We really hope to see Namor. That would be awesome to see in Black Panther 2. Would be some Namor feature. Um and like dive into the world of Atlantis and stuff like that.
That's true.
But I would say that going like circling all back and pulling back in Spider-Man and the multiverse concept is I am generally excited to see what they do with the Young Avengers that they've been setting up for a while now. B, I'm excited to see if they can actually pull off a multiverse live action movie.
They will.
Which I have faith
So
that they will, but you know, that could be one that could really flop. If it's not done right, it could flop.
if Kevin Feige is in control, I trust him.
I do
I
too.
Can,
I
can
don't
I
know that
ask
I
you guys a
trust
question?
Sony, but I definitely trust Kevin Feige.
Let me ask you guys a question. So it took what 24 movies to get the final fight with Thanos, right?
Sure.
Would you guys be willing to wait another 24 movies, another 10 years to see an epic fight with, let's say, Galactus?
I don't think it's gonna be that long.
I don't either, and I generally think that's because like
Now they know what they have. They've built some of their characters up already.
they also kind of know the formula. They
Yeah.
know what makes a
But
good run, you know?
here's my issue. After Galactus, what other big villain is there?
It's going to be tough. It's going
What
to be
other
Well,
big villain? is there?
well,
The
not
problem with Marvel Comics is like now
well,
what?
so
If-
that's the
if-
thing though. All speculation, like if they do multiverse for Spider-Man, which I'm pretty sure is confirmed, Sinister Six is gonna be dope if they do
For
it right.
Spider-Man.
For Spider-Man.
But
I think that in general it's gonna maybe switch from being like a one villain plot line to a multi-villain actually exploring the individual storylines.
well,
could
don't
for the
forget,
entire Avengers to like
guys, don't
fight them.
forget X-Men has Apocalypse, right?
Ooh, that's
X-Men
true.
does have Apocalypse. It
true.
does.
You're
It
not
So
has
wrong.
Apocalypse.
wrong.
I think the next two villains should be, to be honest with you,
You're not wrong.
Galactus and then Apocalypse. The only problem then is this: Apocalypse is around the same power scale as a Thanos.
Hmm.
You have X-Men, you have Fantastic Four, you have Spider-Man, Black Panther, and all of them. Is there really that much of a fight at that point against any villain you put out there?
I'm sorry. Say that again. You have
So you have the entire X-Men, Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Phoenix, Rogue.
well, there could be a reason
Fantastic
why some
Four.
of them. There could be a reason why some of them are unavailable. The same way that some of them were unavailable during Thanos's.
What-
Well, so
What
there's
I'm
like
afra-
Kang.
what I'm afraid of, Kang, I don't think he's up there with Apocalypse. I think
he's
what
like
I'm
top
afraid of,
5 martial artist in the world of Marvel or in the universe of Marvel.
Well,
but I don't know.
there's
how.
also like Mephisto.
Well, they already did Doctor Strange with Dormammu and all that stuff.
Dormammu.
Dormammu would have been a good villain for them to fight eventually.
I think he will come up
but
to
who
it.
knows? Yeah,
But
they
he-
might come
they-
back up.
I don't
Because
know.
keep in mind, Dormammu wasn't actually defeated. He came up with an agreement with Doctor Strange at the end of the movie. So it could very well be that he does come back. But I think what I'm afraid of with Marvel
They
right
did
now is that
something with Phoenix too, right?
They could
In the
do.
X-Men
They
movie,
could.
they've made
They'll
2.
probably
Yeah.
make an X-Men movie about that. It probably won't be an Avengers movie. It'll probably be they could do
It
Marvel. They could do Avengers versus X-Men.
They
That's a
could.
that
classic.
would be
Ooh, they could do
that would be
Avengers versus
fine.
X-Men.
You know
Like
what I
they
would
did
love
Civil
to
War.
see? I would love to see this. I don't think it'll ever happen. DC versus Marvel in a movie.
I thought about that, and I just don't even want to see it. I'll be honest with you.
Superman would kick all their asses.
No.
No, it's
No,
just I don't.
Superman would. I
It's too
think
much. It wouldn't end clean. Like I'm a pro wrestling fan,
Yeah.
and when I say a clean ending, I mean 1, 2, 3. The ref counted 1, 2, 3, and there were no submission. There were no like funny business about the match. There would be some funny business. There's no way that Marvel would be like, oh yeah, beat our characters clean. You know what I mean?
I don't think it'll
Some
be that
sort of funny
way.
business.
I think if there was a DC versus Marvel, there would probably be agreement as to who can win, who could lose. But what I would want to see is a clear winner and loser.
the
in
problem
the
with
film.
that though is that DC needs to get on the MCU level before they could even touch those types of
They're get-
contracts.
They're getting there, man. Name me a bad movie they've released in the last 4 years. Shazam was great. Wonder Woman, fire.
Wonder Woman 2 was
Aquaman,
terrible.
I haven't watched that one yet.
It was
so I can't
terrible.
speak on it.
Bro, Wonder Woman 1 was the best movie that they put out up to that point.
Full
Wonder Woman 2 is
disclosure,
terrible.
I did not see
But-
Shazam. I did not.
but the-
I didn't
Wonder
even
Woman
want
2
to
is
give
on
it a
HBO
chance.
Max.
Shazam was good, but that's what
Shazam
I'm
was
getting
good.
at.
Shazam was good. You should Drew, you'd like, or Mocha, I'm sorry, you'd like
Oh,
that.
it's fine. It's fine.
But you see,
I haven't yet watched that.
You'd like
but that's what I'm getting at. DC is stepping up their game. After Justice League, you have, like I said, Wonder Woman, you have Aquaman, you have Shazam. Wonder Woman 2 maybe wasn't that great, but
it was
they're
not.
shooting 3 for 4 right now. In baseball, that's a great stat line. I think if they keep rolling out
Wait,
like this.
So wait, Wonder Woman 2 was bad, and then what were the other movies?
Hold on. No, after
Aquaman?
Justice League, Wonder Woman came out, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Wonder Woman 2, Aquaman, Shazam, and I think there might be one more DC movie that I'm forgetting about.
Well, the Joker, right?
Well, Joker, but Joker
not
isn't
part of that
universe.
Oh,
But either
gotcha,
way, it's
gotcha.
made by the same studio. Point is, the studio is finally figuring their shit out, right? The
I
problem
gotta
with
see-
Warner
I gotta-
Brothers,
Mm.
the problem with Warner Brothers always was this: they never knew how to let a director be a director. If you watch videos of Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder doing Justice League, Joss Whedon wasn't allowed to do whatever he wanted because Zack Snyder already had his cut, and Zack Snyder wanted a 3-hour movie, but Warner Brothers were like, nah, can't do that. So the problem with Marvel versus DC studio-wise is
I don't want to see it.
DC
I'll be honest with you. I don't want to see it. I don't. I think it's too complicated. I think it'll be too political. I think nothing was going to end up. I think the fans will get all excited, and I think we'll be disappointed in the end. I don't want to see that.
Well,
I
I
think
I
if-
think you would really have to like do a lot more DC movies before you could even have the fans on board with something like that.
Because there's not going to be any fan that's going to like. So there's going to be very few fans, I'll say, that'll support DC over Marvel. Because Marvel, people have grown up with. I've been watching these Marvel movies since I was in high school. I'm not rooting DC over Marvel.
Yeah, we're looking at from 2008 till now, and we're looking at the characters that have been developed in Marvel versus the characters that have been developed in DC.
the only one
There's a lot of characters that have been developed in Marvel.
and that it hurts my heart to say that because I love DC. I think Henry Cavill is a great Superman, and I don't think he'll be back as Superman.
It's not
I
necessarily
like DC too, and like I said, DC. My favorite superheroes are DC heroes. I don't even really like Marvel comics all that much.
See,
I like DC
I
comics.
do.
I
I
love
come-
Green Lantern. I love the Flash. I love Batman.
I do really like the Flash. I like the Flash a lot. I
Batman.
like Batman.
Batman and Batman's
I-
villains.
I'm gonna have a
But
hot take.
That's
All
the
of
thing
comics.
is I love DC villains,
They're
but
so good.
I love Marvel heroes. I would fucking pay loads of money to watch a Marvel villains take on Marvel heroes take on DC villains, but I give a fuck less about the DC heroes.
Really?
There's not.
You don't like
there's-
Green Lantern?
It's not that I don't like him. It's just like there's not so
I love
many
Jeff Johns' run
compelling.
of Lantern.
There's not so many compelling stories. I think.
You think so? You
I-
think
I
Marvel
think-
has more compelling stories than DC?
Generally, just because
Have You can have that opinion if you have it. I don't want to dissuade you.
the hard part about that for me is that, and I know I harp on this so much, but like the fact that Marvel has so many good characters all around, right? It's not just their main storylines, it's their side storylines are good fucking
But-
stories. Like
But
like-
DC is the same way.
but it's not. It is for the villains. It's not for the heroes.
I would have to
is.
disagree.
That's bullshit.
Well, here I'll give you an
Well said.
example. Green Lantern, Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns running the Green Lanterns. He expanded the mythos. Beautiful. Because before, you just thought,
Sure, but
okay,
that's a hero, right? That's one hero that is a main Justice League
No.
hero.
no, you got to
Green
no.
Lantern is
Wait,
a
let me
main Justice League
finish.
hero.
Let me finish.
Fuck.
Green Lantern is multiple people.
Ugh.
Green Lantern
Yeah, you have Barry Allen.
is Barry. No. Barry Allen's the Flash. You have
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Hal Jordan. You have Guy Gardner. You have Kyle Rayner. You have
John Stewart.
John Stewart. I'm sorry. And then you have all those, but then you also have the whole Green Lantern Corps. So before you just thought, okay, Green Lanterns are all based off willpower. That's their power is willpower.
Yes.
And it was just the Green Lanterns. But then after Jeff Johns got done, you not only had the Green Lanterns, you had the Red Lanterns, you had the Sinestro Corps Yellow Lanterns, you had the Violet Lanterns, you had the Blue Lanterns, you had the Blackest Night Blackest
Okay.
Night is one of the best
Okay.
stories ever.
Okay, right. So fine. I concede all that shit. But like, when the fuck are we gonna see all of those on the big screen? Every
Well,
single
it
one.
they fucked up
it
Green
takes
Lantern in the
time.
They
movies
fucked it
originally.
up.
But-
so like,
So
it's
it might
so
be a
But
hard.
this is the thing. DC heroes to me are more compelling than Marvel for one simple reason, right? You guys don't like Superman, right? You can kill Superman. He is impervious to kryptonite.
Yeah.
Magic. Batman is human. You shoot him in the face, guess what? Night night, Batman. You're done. Green Lantern, you take off the ring, he can die. The Flash, you shoot him, dead. No one in Marvel technically can be killed because
That's
you
not
have
true.
Thor.
Iron Man can be killed. Like,
Okay,
fucking
that's-
all.
that's
Actually,
One,
a lot
that's
of the
one-
Avengers can be killed because most of them are just really, really good, super trained assassin people, and like,
that's not true. Deadpool can't die. Wolverine can't die. Hulk can't die. Name me another one.
Can't die. You say Flash gets shot. Has a healing factor. He can't. He's not gonna be. He's not. It's not that he can't die.
also Flash
all
is
these
never
people
gonna
can
get shot.
Exactly.
But you get the
not
point.
gonna die.
You could still
Wonder
hurt
Woman?
him to the point of almost death.
I wouldn't say
In
though
Marvel,
that
you
like
can't
do
gives
that.
them an edge.
Yeah,
Well,
but no,
that-
you can do that
that-
with the same thing with Marvel though. Look at the Avengers, the core Avengers, and the core Justice League.
But which core
Aquaman,
Justice League are we talking
two
about?
of the core Avengers.
The
So-
OG7 of
Sorry, two
Superman, Batman, Flash, uh,
Martian
core
Manhunter.
Wonder Woman,
Wonder Woman,
Aquaman.
Aquaman, whoever you want to
Martian-
say is in it.
Martian Manhunter, one of the most underrated superheroes of all
Overpowered.
time.
He's overpowered.
Overpowered, but you know what kills him?
Fire.
Fire.
That's fine.
But see,
D-
this is the problem
DC
though, is
has
that
weaknesses.
DC has overpowered heroes and really compelling villain stories.
And the
whereas-
Hulk isn't overpowered.
Hulk,
Thor isn't
Hulk-
overpowered.
the Hulk can die. Like if you kill Bruce Banner, he's fucking dead.
He can't die. He shot himself in the mouth and couldn't die.
Yeah, I don't know, but Hulk is very overpowered. But Hulk has all these people have. The thing is, most of the Marvel people have weaknesses.
I don't
So-
know. I disagree.
They do
Hulk,
though.
Hulk has a weakness in that he can't control himself.
But okay, but that doesn't mean that. All right.
So even though
Yeah.
you can't control yourself. So you're just gonna be causing chaos. World War Hulk, that storyline. He just
Exactly.
on a
Great-
fucking
Great
tear.
storyline.
He was on a tear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's
But
the
look
thing.
at
Who can stop
Superman.
him? Who can stop him?
Who can stop?
Superman, Batman has beaten Superman how many times? A human being has beaten the strongest being in all of
That's
DC.
that's no regular human being, dog. That's Batman. That's Bruce. That's Mr.
Well,
Wayne to you.
sorry, wait. I gotta
Mr.
really
Wayne
throw
to
in a
you,
hot
dog.
take though, cause I am always one of the people who actually fucking hates Batman in general because he's just. Yes,
I
I
think he's
know, I know.
overrated.
It's
What the?
super hot take.
I
But
gotta
I
get
think
off. I gotta get off this. I gotta get off this Discord.
I
What are you
do
guys
think
talking about right now?
in general I think Batman's very overrated.
Can I just both?
Thank you.
Can I tell
No.
both of you why that's incorrect?
No, I
Thank
know,
you.
I know
Because
every
I've
single
given you
argument.
multiple details as why
No.
that's
No.
incorrect.
So trust me, my oldest brother is a Batman ride or die boy, and I have heard every single argument against what I like generally feel about Batman. It's hard for me to say like somebody with
Batman's side characters are more popular than fucking some of Marvel's
which
top characters.
exactly, but
That's for
it's
sure.
fucking Batman's villains though. It's not.
No, it's not even. It's
No,
fucking.
no.
It's fucking Batwing.
The Bat
Bullshit.
Family.
It's the
Yeah.
It's Batwing. It's Oracle. It's Batgirl. It's Nightwing.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sorry there.
Red Hood. It's
I-
all the different Robins.
Batman
It's
is
Penguin,
I
Riddler,
basically I could be okay
Joker.
without all of them except for their villains. I love Batman's villains. Batman's villains is one of the like fucking redeeming parts
Dog,
of DC
Night-
in my opinion.
Nightwing is one of the most popular heroes, and one of the most popular hero in DC Comics, and he used to be fucking Robin.
Top
I
5 best
get that.
superheroes, without
I
a doubt.
get that. But I'm just saying in general, like I overrate Batman, like have Batman as
And
overrated.
his villains are so fucking good.
I know that your camera just got fucked up. I know that Batman's villains are good. In fact, that's one of the biggest things in my opinion is that Batman's villains are so good. But like in general,
He has the best villains in comics.
He
does,
does.
without a
He
doubt.
does.
And
That's
thing about Batman, I'm sorry not to interrupt you just very quickly, is that the comics keep putting out new villains and they're all fucking fire.
but you
So-
have to because everybody knows that Batman is just a rich fucking guy. He's just
well,
a
he's
rich
stupid
dude.
smart. But the problem I have with Batman is this: everybody wants to be Batman. That like
I
his
don't-
storyline is boring. Like every movie we watch is somehow loosely based on Batman, a guy who had his family killed, who all of a sudden wants to be a hero. We've seen this a million times. That's why I think Superman is more compelling because it's a different perspective.
Name me another movie or another hero who has that same concept.
Say
Wait,
that
Mike,
again.
You got real quiet.
Sorry, name me another hero who has that same concept though. Whose
Almost
parents
every
died.
action movie ever.
Okay, like what?
Okay, John Wick.
I don't remember John Wick's story.
Was that?
I don't remember John Wick's story. I know he was a mercenary. I know they fuck with his dog.
They fuck with his dog. He decides, you know what? I'm coming out and I'm gonna start killing everyone. Some similar to Batman.
Okay, time out. We're
But that's
getting
not
way
his
too
parents
far
died.
away. We are getting way too far away. All
'Cause
all
Batman
I'm
is
saying
overrated.
about Batman, the main reason that I don't like Batman is other than his super smartness, which you could argue that in Marvel there are a lot of characters who have the same intelligence level as Batman.
He's
The-
not the smartest Marvel. He's not the
He's-
smartest DC character.
He's not the smartest DC character. So
but
so
he's
all he
probably the most
has
determined.
is no, but all he really has is resources and his determination. That's
Well,
it.
his determination
his
is different.
intellect.
His
his intellect-
determination and his intellect are different.
Yeah.
Bro, you can't tell me
Art.
that
And
you
his,
put
and his knowledge of martial arts is different.
Bro, yeah,
Oh,
his
fuck
intellect is
off.
on
You
another
put
level.
It's
you put
different.
Spider-Man
He's
with
top
his
five-
resources. You put Spider-Man with his resources, Spider-Man's intellect
No,
with his resources.
false.
You're gonna get a 10 times better Batman than
False.
any.
Never.
No,
You think that legitimately?
Yes,
guys.
You think
guys,
Spider-Man?
Batman's-
Spider-Man
No
is
way.
a teenager
Bro,
and he's fucking
Batman's
smart as
nickname-
Batman.
No,
you
he's
think
not.
Spider-Man as a grown
No.
adult would beat Batman in anything?
Yes, I
No.
think he would.
No, you don't.
Yes,
no,
I
you
do.
don't.
Drew,
There's
I
no way you
do.
think that.
Mocha, you're wrong.
No,
Here's
I'm not
no- you-
wrong.
You're smoking crack.
No.
What is Batman's nickname? The world's greatest detective. Spider-Man could never even get close to
He
this.
could Petey could never.
That's because you only see Peter Parker as
Baby
a
boy
fucking
Petey.
goddamn teenager. You give him another 20 years, he beat the shit out of
No.
Batman.
All right, actually,
Never.
Mocha, you know what he would look like in 20 years? The Spider-Man from the future or the other universe in Spider-Man the universe movie.
No.
With the beer belly shit?
No,
Yeah,
you
100%.
can't take the
Batman's motivation is different.
Exactly.
His motivation, his
And-
knowledge, his preparation. Like I said, his preparation is different.
You guys
And the
don't
worst
realize how
part is-
fucking close I am to walking away from this mic right now. I
The
don't want
worst
to talk
part
to you
is-
guys anymore.
The worst part is for
It's just different.
Mr. Mocha here, Batman is only human. Imagine if he had Spider-Man's powers. It wouldn't work the other way around. If he had Spider-Man's powers, we would be talking right now that he might be the most overpowered superhero of all time. Spider-Man can't do what Batman
Bruh.
can do.
Spider-Man is a little bit agile and can shoot webs. He's smart, but he's not. He's not
No,
the level. His
Spider-Man-
level of intelligence and his level of
Spider-Man
training
in
isn't
general
It's
is
not.
Par
a
with that.
teenager with God-given fucking gifts of intellect. He is so goddamn
He-
smart.
He
You
is
think
smart.
that
but
Spider-Man
he's
is
not.
smarter than Batman, though?
It-
You don't
No.
think that?
You-
There's no way you think that.
you are comparing the intellect of somebody who's always a teenager / a child in their fucking comics, movies, whatever, versus
Well,
a
in Spider-Man
40,
the animated
50-year-old
series,
Ugh.
in Spider-Man the animated series from the 90s, which is a classic series, you should watch it
It
if you
is.
haven't. It's a classic series. He's an adult.
Look, I'm
And
just saying.
Age him 10 years. You're not putting him up against Batman in anything. I don't care, bro.
Batman is not that smart. He's not.
What- Bro,
He's not.
what has
He
what
What
has
are you
he's
Spider-Man
a
talking
fucking
about?
billionaire.
Outside-
He's the DC Iron
Mocha.
Man. He is
Mocha,
the DC
outside of
Iron
his
Man.
spider webs, what else has Peter Parker, or like Mike calls him, Petey, invented? Nothing. Spider-Man, the Batarang.
Batman has a plan to beat every member of the Justice League and
every
can effectuate.
member. This dude has
Fuck
a
you guys.
bat suit. He has a bat suit to fight Superman. He
I
has a
really
bat suit.
genuinely want to leave right
Flash
now.
can move faster than light, and Batman figured out a plan to fuck him up.
I want to leave right
Yeah.
now. Fuck you guys.
He straight up looks at Superman right in the face, and he goes, "I want you to remember, a human beat you. I'm sorry, no one is getting close to
Bro,
that guy.
I love
He's
Spider-Man.
overrated
Is
in my
probably my
opinion.
second favorite hero. He's not beating Batman in a fight.
Yeah,
In
no,
any way.
sorry.
There's no world where Spider-Man beats
I
Batman.
got two
But-
things for you guys right here.
Spider-Man cannot be the big three in DC.
Okay,
I'm
let's
sorry.
move on. Let's move on.
Well, that was really good talk. I actually think we should probably close. I mean, this has been really good. I don't know if we want to.
Okay, so it has been a long ass time since we have done this. So Sandy, we will introduce you to the segment that we call Two Things. So the way this is going to work with three people is what we typically do is I give Mike two things. He has to choose from them. He will give you two things. You have to choose from them. You give me two things. I have to choose from them. No explanation. You just have to pick. And then we close out the show. All right?
Oh boy, sounds good.
So, Seaside, it has
Mhm.
been a long ass time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got to say, Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan.
Okay.
Blasphemy.
No explanations. Seaside, you give Sandy two things.
Sandy. Bourbon or gin?
Bourbon all the way. Mr. Mocha. Spider-Man sucks? Or Spider-Man sucks?
Oof. No, give me a serious two things.
Let's see. Brady or Serena? Who's the GOAT?
Ooh. Brady.
Damn
Brady.
right.
Brady.